coming up on Nittany Game Week.
Those last couple games, I think we really had a spark towards the end there and really got it rolling. So I think that, that's a huge positive that came out of it.
Redshirt freshman quarterback Ethan Grunkemeyer is set to start his 7th consecutive game. Why he's able to progress rapidly over the last couple of games and how the Pinstripe Bowl will help determine whether he stays with PSU.
Just really excited about it, and then the fact that you get to play a national power like Penn State is a really special opportunity.
Clemson coach Dabo Swinney faces the Nittany Lions for the first time. One of the reasons he was thrilled to hear the Tigers would be traveling north to play in Yankee Stadium. And Yogi Roth of the Big Ten Network is our Impact interview guest. Why he thinks Penn State nailed it by hiring Matt Campbell. This is Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. It's almost time for the Pinstripe in Yankee Stadium. You know what? What are your recollections of bowl weeks and the final preparations before kickoff?
Well, you get to a point where you just want to play the game because you practiced and practiced and practiced. And but, we did a good job of keeping guys from getting bored. But at some point, you're just ready to go play that game and see what happens.
That's because the head coach said, don't get them bored. Put some stuff in, but don't use it unless you absolutely have to.
Got to keep their interest. You'll give us a detailed look at their opponent, Clemson, in the scouting report in a little bit. We hear from the interim coach leading the charge for PSU and a few of the players still committed to suiting up for the blue and white in our opening drive. What a long, strange trip it's been for Terry Smith in 2025. Gets a tough assignment to keep this year's team together as the interim head coach, a team playing well below expectations at the time, Jay.
Well, no question about it. And certainly coming out of that Oregon game, it felt like a morgue in Happy Valley living there. Everybody felt like the sky had fallen. And the reality is that bled into the next two games. And when the change was made, Terry really came in and kind of asserted his personality on that team, and that team really responded well.
He coaches against the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, almost knocking off Indiana. And here is Coach Smith on leading the team at the Pinstripe Bowl.
Super thankful that I have the opportunity to represent my university that I played for. I was uniquely a part of the first time we played against Clemson back in the Citrus Bowl of January 1988. So we've only played them 2 times, and I'm like the common denominator to playing them.
It doesn't matter what's at stake. Every bowl game is special and has a finality to it, as many of the players. And this year, coaches will go their separate ways once it's over.
The question is, what he's do with the available time to work against Clemson? On offense, they've had a month since Rutgers. They have some guys opting out. They've developed a young quarterback, Grunkemeyer. And Tom, that's going to be the challenge as to how they do on Saturday.
One of the things is when you have a lot of this time, sometimes you put in some stuff just to keep the players from getting bored, as you know, and then you do some other things. You get a chance to practice some things. Say, geez, we didn't get it. This looks pretty good. Let's go with it. So you'll see some new wrinkles in this game.
And just like we've seen a lot of growth in Coach Smith over the last half of the season, same for Grunkemeyer, Jay. He had to face the top 2 teams in the nation. Won his last 3. Actually had a slightly better passer rating than Drew Aller.
No question. I think really what helped was the establishment of the run game, and then you got the play action pass, and you were hitting some of those intermediate areas and some of the deeper throws, which then changed really how you had to defend Penn State, and Grunkemeyer really was the beneficiary of that change.
Well, one of the things that Coach Smith said he was going to do was make the adjustments in the vertical passing game, and he did that pretty quickly. Grunk responded nicely. He's excited to get back out on the field.
First and foremost, finishing on a high note through a challenging season. I think that's the most important thing. And then also just, keeping the momentum going for the guys. From the past couple weeks, I feel like we've been on a super upward trend. So just keeping on that trajectory, and then just based on my future, just nothing decided yet. focused on, this game and then making decisions after that.
Coach Smith loves to establish the run, control that line of scrimmage. Who will get the carries is a question, so we could see more passes than usual on the play sheet. And whether it's offense or defense, this is an opportunity for the players that plan on returning next season to showcase their skills. Defensively, that means good tackling, being in the right position, and fast reaction times out on the field.
For the fans, it's a little bit like an early spring game where you're going to see some new faces out there. But when you're starting to talk about coming back for next year and building, you want to have that momentum of a bowl win going in. It creates a great environment when you start up again in January for the next year. And I think you'll see a team play really, really hard defensively.
That's one of the great things is when you get that last win, there's just something about it because it carries over through the winter time, the winter workouts. You get ready, you say, hey, we got a pretty good team. We got a chance to be really, really good.
Clemson's quarterback Cade Klubnik indicated he will play in the game, so there's definitely a challenge ahead for the defense, especially the secondary, against a guy who can run with plenty of arm talent.
Playing in Yankee Stadium, I grew up a Yankees fan as well, so going to those games with my pop was always awesome. And and my pop's my why really for why I keep on doing all this stuff and try to keep on pushing forward. Just being able to play my last game for the Penn State and Nittany Lions and Yankee Stadium it's a true honor.
The kickoff is at noon at Yankee Stadium. Should be a lot of fun for the guys suiting up and hopefully a competitive game for the fans. Yeah, not easy to know who would win a fight between a lion and a tiger. We can try and figure that out. How to best attack their defense. Our coaches break down Clemson's concepts in our scouting report when we return. More Nittany Game Week is on the way.
The opening drive is sponsored by R&R Express. Every shipment moved contributes to autism research and inclusion through the Excel Foundation. Learn more at wearerr.com.
These are more than just trucks. Every shipment moved by the R&R Express family of companies contributes to the Excel Foundation for Autism Research and Inclusion, funding safe spaces like the sensory room at Penn State's Beaver Stadium and a special event sensory trailer, and giving thousands that were unheard a voice.
Now is the time to amplify non-speaking voices and drive meaningful change.
These trucks are powered by purpose.
Every week, our groundskeepers are meticulously mowing, painting, repairing any damage from the previous game in preparation for Saturday. Our contributions to the team are providing safe playing surfaces for the athletes to showcase their abilities on. There's a lot of history here. Being able to be a part of that has been incredibly special for me.
Nittany Game Week is brought to you by West Shore Home, official partner of Penn State Football.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Go back to late August. No one would be surprised to hear Penn State is facing Clemson in the postseason. The Shockers, they're squaring off in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. PSU preseason number 2, the Tigers preseason number 4. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno. Clemson has almost 30 players out in this game. Hard to scout the guys at this point. Important to understand their concepts.
No question about it. And it is New York. It is baseball. But as the son of a former Ebbets Field usher who did not like the Yankees, and as a Red Sox fan, no way I'm putting on a Yankees jersey, so I got my Jackie Robinson throwback back when we go to New York. But let's talk about the opponent heading up. Tigers of Clemson are playing Penn State, so let's talk about them. Clemson has kind of fallen off from where they were, but when you look at where they've kind of come up short, they're on a 4-game win streak, but you look at their big playoff run of 18, 19, 20 versus the last 3 years, you see the numbers offensively have fallen off, particularly in the run game and particularly on third downs, and that's been a problem for them. Let's talk about why that may be a problem. Let's look at some of the guys you want to take a key on. The quarterback is back. The running back is a big bruiser. The wideout, Zero, is a tough matchup. He plays Wildcat, does a number of things for him, but where they've had problems is the offensive line, Tom. 6 different combinations.
Too many combinations has come up. That's the one place that they really have fallen off. And I think a lot of it has to do with it's not just personnel. It's getting the guys in the right places. And as you know, they're moving a lot of people around.
Yeah, and that's tough to do. Let's talk about the run game. They've had some success in the run game, but the difference has been they don't have that big play back. The tailback they have is a 6'2", 230 bruiser, so you're going to have to bring it when you come to tackle him. They try and get him north-south and do some things on the perimeter, but when he gets north and south, Tom, you better get your shoulder pads down.
You better get square real quick and in a hurry, and you better run through the target.
Yeah, and again, this guy does not get the big plays, but he does move the chains. They'll have to be more consistent if they want to beat Penn State. Let's talk about the wideouts now. The wideout screen game is essentially the run game. Here's zero we talked about. They're going to motion him around. They're going to flare him out, throw him the ball. Guy's going to be blocking downfield, going to be critical against all this wide receiver screen, Tom, to get off blocks.
You have to get off blocks, and I think that's one thing. Defensive backs a lot of times don't have the practice time to work on that. That's something that Penn State's going to obviously have focused on this week about getting off blocks and getting to the ball in proper pursuit angles.
And if you miss a tackle, you could be in big trouble. Now let's talk, once you come up to try and take away the screen game, here they go trips and they overload defensively. Here they get one-on-one backside. They've got big wideouts, and they will use their body against you one-on-one to try and make these plays and throw the ball up in time. Here's the 6'3" wideout, which creates a height matchup for Penn State.
It does create that matchup problem. And that's what they'll be looking for, too, to see who's out there on him. That's the one thing, the body positioning of a bigger wideout against a littler DB can be a problem.
Now, one of the problems we talked about with Clemson this year has been third downs. They have not been consistent. Part of that, they just haven't been clean. Here, they're going to run a third down play. They're running crossing routes, which are now a little bit slower developing. They get guys across, guys deeper. And again, with the pressure and the offensive line issues, you can see Cade Klubnik, the quarterback, has to scramble to his right on this one, and it's not clean. Now, he does convert this, Tom, but that's not how you want to see it happen if you're the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think that one of the things they're going to try to do is get that run game going. If they're going to throw on third down, it's going to be shorter distances on third down.
No question. Let's talk about defensively, where they've played really well defensively, but the story here is their linebacker play. Let's talk about linebacker number 47. He's the guy to watch. He's got a bunch of sacks. He's got a bunch of tackles for losses. Has an interception, causes fumble. He's the guy to watch. Their safety number 6 has 6 interceptions, second in the country. But let's talk about who's not going to be there. Their base scheme, they want to get the linebackers involved, and part of that has been what they do up front. Those 3 guys are out. Their rover is out. Their top corner is out. So not sure who's going to be there, but they're going to be active at the linebacker spot.
They're going to have to be active, and having those guys out, those are 3 pretty darn good players. Should definitely help Penn State in this one.
No question. And then finally, we talk about third downs. Tom Allen, we know from his time at Penn State, likes a lot of blitzes with linebackers, does a lot of things schematically really well. Here, Florida State goes to an empty. They swing the protection this way, so they've got 3 to block over here, 2 to block over here. They're showing 6. Now, what he does is they wait for the call. They get the center to go there. They bring this guy and drop that guy out, and you end up with the center blocking nobody. And they force that throw to happen fast, and they tackle him short of the sticks. That's going to be critical for Penn State to move the chains, Todd, as it always is.
All right, thank you, coaches. It's a question many people pose and ponder. Who would win a fight between a lion and a tiger? Well, considering both teams have top-end talent sitting this one out, hard to choose between Penn State and Clemson. Tigers head coach Dabo Swinney is just happy about giving his players a new experience.
I know we'll have a lot of kids on the team that have never been to New York. So for them to have an opportunity to not only go to an iconic city, but to play in a historic stadium and with so much tradition, and also to bring Tiger football up there where we have a huge alumni base. So just really excited about it. And then the fact that you get to play a national power like Penn State is a really special opportunity.
Coach Swinney usually sprints down the hill in Death Valley onto the field. Not sure what he'll do in Yankee Stadium. Perhaps he'll try to run the bases before kickoff. A quick follow-up to a fun story we showed you last week. West Shore Home makes a $10,000 donation to the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots program at their company's headquarters in Mechanicsburg. Now, they sponsored a shopping spree last week with Penn State football players doing the shopping for kids in central Pennsylvania. This donation caps off the company's toy drive, where employees donate thousands of toys for children in need. Up next, our Impact interview with Scranton native and Big Ten Network analyst Yogi Roth. Why he thinks Matt Campbell is a perfect fit for Penn State. Nittany Game Week returns after this.
This journey started on these very grounds, in these stands, with this community. West Shore Home was proudly made right here in Pennsylvania. We took a passion, a drive, and built a company that believes in hard work and success, just like this football team. Remember going to your first game? The roar of the crowd? The feeling of being part of something bigger? That's a feeling you never forget.
Bring that same feeling to your home with an extra $750 off, in addition to our current offer, by visiting westshorehome.com/PSU.
In the Pocono Mountains, we always want you to feel like a guest in our home, our mountain home.
Our 4 diamond homes.
You can dream.
Relax, we'll do it all for you.
Do it your own way. Choose a vacation rental home.
Our water parks are a splash of world class. We don't have to clean all these rooms, right?
The Pocono Mountains, where you're treated like a guest in all our mountain homes. Visit PoconoMountains.com.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
We are back on Nittany Game Week, time for our Impact Interview, and it's always fun to catch up with Scranton, PA native Yogi Roth, now with the Big Ten Network, was an assistant coach at USC. He played wide receiver at Pitt, award-winning filmmaker, also an author. Let's get right to it, Yogi. Penn State, one of the teams that needed to bring in somebody during this cycle of coaching hires. What kind of fit do you think Matt Campbell is in Happy Valley?
Oh, I think it's incredible. I think anybody who's tracked the sport knows what Matt Campbell's path has been, from Pitt to Mount Union to where he obviously landed eventually at Iowa State. And I called an Iowa State game last year, so I got to spend time with he and Taylor Mauser and a lot of members on the staff that'll find their way to Happy Valley. And you're just so impressed. His name was circulating when the SC thing was popping, when Lincoln Riley took the job a couple years ago. So you started doing a little bit more dive, thinking he might come to the league that you're covering at the time. But then when you saw that happen, number one, I thought they nailed it. Number two, after his press conference, then you start following all the things that he's doing within the facility, or talk to people on the staff, or those that might even be in limbo. His regard for everyone in that building is just incredible. The way people talk about him, the way obviously he has won, the way he's built teams, identified talent, developed talent. And then I think that the best part of it all was, and this is, I think, Coach, you probably agree, when somebody lands a job that they've looked at their entire careers and it becomes reality. And we've seen that with, the coordinators in this cycle. We've seen that with head coaches in the past, but to see it happen here in this regard with his family nearby, like, you couldn't help but be like, yeah, I'm a root for this man in every step of the way. So a wild search, but as the dust settled, I think Penn State's going to come out really looking impressive with the right guy for the job.
So watching this season unfold in the Big Ten, there were some surprises. What kind of things surprised you the most? And talk about the quarterback play in this league and how good it has gotten.
Yeah, well, you go back to media days. I was sitting on set with Jerry DiNardo and Dave Revson, our Big Ten Network crew. And, you kind of make a big proclamation for the year. And mine was, I thought it was going to be the best year in the history of the Big Ten at quarterback. And I haven't been covering this league for the history of the league, but I've been around it growing up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I've watched Big Ten football my whole life. And it just felt like it never had the depth. And then jumping into the league 2 years ago, my biggest critique of it was, I just thought the quarterback play was disappointing, across the board. Like, you didn't see it at an elite premium level. And you looked at it this year, over 30 games were one-score games in conference play. And it went the way of the quarterback, whether that was Drake Lindsey on a game-winning drive, or Dylan Raiola making a play late, or UCLA and Nico Imaliava making a play late. You just kind of could turn the TV on, whatever channel, and it felt like once you got to conference play, these games were really tight for the most part, and it was. And then you watch Fernando and Julian duel in the Big Ten title game, and you're saying, yep, this is not only just the most premier league from the top, you look at winning national championships, but I look all across it, and it'll change again, right? We all know what's happening. I mean, you wrote the the fiction book about the portal and all the chaos that happens with your book Blitz, but part of that is also reality. So I think there's a desire to come play in this league. I talked to a lot of the quarterbacks during the cycle last year that found their way to the Big Ten, and a huge pull was, I want to play in this league.
So, Yogi, after year 2 of West Coast teams in the Big Ten, what positives have they brought into the league on the field, and where might those schools have to improve?
Well, I always felt that once NIL became a thing and the portal became active, there was just going to be desire for players to see what was going on out west, whether that's media and marketing opportunities in a city like Los Angeles, where I reside with USC and UCLA respectively, whether that was Seattle and all the Fortune 500 companies that exist in that great city. And then you look at Eugene and the brand they have. I thought they were going to start to potentially climb some of these blue blood, long-time brands in the Big Ten. And I don't know if they're just leapfrogging people, but they're part of the conversation, right? But I also look at Oregon. And you think of the Big Ten now, and I get that it's Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State. Like, there's historicals, but you cannot ignore what they've done on the field, undefeated in year one, only one loss in league play in year two. And I think they are a dark horse here where we sit in the college football playoff to make real noise. So I think that the league's only growing. Then you look at the young talent in Seattle, Damon Williams. We'll see what happens with Denzel Boston. You look at this young offensive line. They got true freshmen playing on the offensive line, a tackle and guard. I mean, they look good defensively. They're flying around. They dominated Boise State in the bowl game. And they look the part. And Jed is, to me, I've known him for almost 20 years now. He's a dear friend, but he's a heck of a ball coach. And then at UCLA with Bob Chesney now coming in, he's my favorite stat of Coach Chesney. He's coached in 183 games that advanced to this year's college football playoff as a head coach. So the reps, coach, you know this, on the sideline, in situational football, managing a team, I don't care where you're doing it, but to be able to do that at his age, I think is going to bode really well for the Bruins. And again, the ripe recruiting ground here in Los Angeles. These four teams aren't slowing down. Three of them have taken big steps.
Always enjoy Yogi's insight on all things college football. You can consume all of our Impact interviews on our website, nittany-game-week.com. Don't go anywhere. Still to come, Tom hands out a scrap medal to a human snowplow that really knows how to clear a path on the football field. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Nittany Game Week is brought to you by West Shore Home, official partner of Penn State Football.
You'll enjoy wintertime in the Poconos as much as those folks did. Our Pocono Mountain winters take your breath away, literally. Take a breath at PoconoMountains.com.
These are more than just trucks. Every shipment moved by the R&R Express family of companies contributes to the Excel Foundation for Autism Research and Inclusion, funding safe spaces like the sensory room at Penn State's Beaver Stadium and a special event sensory trailer, and giving thousands that were unheard a voice.
Now is the time to amplify non-speaking voices and drive meaningful change.
These trucks are powered by purpose.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment.
The offensive line is one big cohesive unit. Number 71, redshirt junior Venga Ioane stands out among the crowd, Tom.
Sure does. 6'4", 323 pounds. That's if he doesn't eat dinner. You never notice how often the Nittany Lions run to the left side in most must-have situations. That's because they can count on Venga to clear the way for the record-breaking running backs. He earned second-team All-American status for his work at the line of scrimmage and this week's scrap medal. He did not allow a sack this season and is already declared for the NFL draft.
It's trivia time. Last week's question, which eventual Heisman Trophy winning quarterback holds the national record for total offense and passing yards in a bowl game in a losing effort against Penn State? Ty Detmer of BYU in the 1989 Holiday Bowl went on to win the Heisman Trophy in 1990. He had 594 yards of total offense against Penn State and lost 50-39. Let's turn to this week's question. This will be Penn State's second game in new Yankee Stadium. They also played 2 games in old Yankee Stadium dating back to 1923. Which other New York City baseball ballpark has Penn State played football in?
A couple of goals we have here on the show, and one of them is to bring PSU fans and alumni together with our Nittany Connect network at nittany-game-week.com. We partner with businesses that support the show and let our viewers know about their great products and professional services. You can visit nittany-game-week.com for all of our web exclusive content, the air times for all of our network of stations, previous episodes. And this is year 5 of the program, so of course our impact interviews are there as well. It's all one convenient location, nittany-game-week.com. And we always finish with some pride picks. You can submit yours on our website and then keep an eye out. We may just use them here on the show. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. Enjoy the Pinstripe Bowl and have a safe and happy New Year. We'll see you in 2026.
Every week, our groundskeepers are meticulously mowing, painting, repairing any damage from the previous game in preparation for Saturday. Our contributions to the team are providing safe playing surfaces for the athletes to showcase their abilities on. There's a lot of history here. Being able to be a part of that has been incredibly special for me.